I'm Theo.
And I'm Juliet.
And this is Apologies Accepted.
We offer an entertaining look at some of the big issues in history by examining public apologies of the famous and infamous.
We're looking at politicians, serial killers, actors, and you.
Send us a public apology you would like to make, and we'll read it on the air and give you a chance to redeem yourself, or just get some guilt off your shoulders.
We're here for you. Once a week, maybe more if you're really, really sorry. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. This is Apologies Accepted, the podcast.
And I'm not Juliet.
I'm not Theo.
I'm never going to drop that.
Well, you'll never not be Juliet, so it's appropriate. So how are you doing this week, Theo? What's shaking?
What is shaking, bacon? Oh, my God. Did I just say that? Click. Right now. Actually, so great week, except today sucked. We have a
It's
smoke
only like
alarm.
10 o'clock there. How could it suck already?
Oh, because I've been up for 6.5 hours now at 4 a.m., at 4:09 a.m. I mean, let's be fair. I shouldn't exaggerate. Our smoke alarm went off with the low battery indicator.
Oh,
and
fuck.
so beep, right? So you wake up and it's like, oh God, all right, the battery, fine. All right. I think they beep for a month and then it's once a day or whatever. No, it's just random, seemingly like every 30 minutes. So at 5:11 a.m., I got out of bed. I used every curse word I knew, right? Now, walk with me, ladies and gentlemen, down 2 flights of stairs. Let's count them. There's 49 of them between 2 floors to go into the garage to grab a 10-foot ladder that I had to then carry back up 49 stairs, right? 2 flights, through the living room, past the sleeping puppy, into the bedroom. And maybe it's 5:20 a.m. by this point, and I'm still swearing like a sailor, right? I climb up there, I pull the battery out, thinking that's going to solve the problem. It didn't.
Oh, no.
So then I had to go and get a battery, right? Because we didn't have any of the square ones in the house.
Oh, no.
Right? Because who uses those other than smoke alarms? So I had to drive at whatever time, 5:45 in the morning, looking for battery. Good luck finding anything that's open because it's Sunday, it's Memorial Day weekend, right? So everything's closed. Grocery stores are not open that early around here. So usually they are. I mean, usually they're, who cares, right? I'm making this a long story. Went to the 7-Eleven because it was open and went inside and I asked the guy if they had batteries. It was his first day on the job and he didn't know. And I couldn't find them. But he also wasn't quite sure what I was asking for because I was half awake and I was really mad. I was so angry, right? And I'm blaming my genetics on this because I have a lot of Celtic blood. And I'm of the opinion that when Irish, Scottish people, dash of French, get pissed off, like just something happens in the DNA and we go into battle mode, right?
Oh, I'm wondering if that's racist.
No, because I'm Irish guy. I'm saying it about me. So
Okay.
Interesting you asked that question because we're going to circle back to that as we get to after I finish my long, exciting story about the battery. Anyway, so the guy had no idea where the batteries were. He wasn't even sure what I was asking for because I stupidly asked for a packet of batteries. So I get that he was confused. I was thinking, how they come like in a case or whatever, right? That's what I was asking for. It was a packet of batteries. But it was confusing to him because, a packet of cigarettes, I'm sure was what he was thinking of. So anyway, I just ended up standing there saying, battery, 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 louder and louder and louder. Because he kept not really asking quite what I was asking for. And then he walked from behind the counter and he was like, I think they're here. And yeah, they were. They were right behind me. And so
oh my gosh.
I felt like and looked like a white asshole, right? Because if you're not understanding what an English speaker is saying, then the English speaker has to just say the same thing again, louder.
Over and over louder, right?
Until they break your eardrums.
Well, there you go. You did it.
So, yeah, anyway, I'm real happy I shared that with the world. At least I got my batteries. Yes, exactly. And what about you? How's your week / your morning? Did you have to go buy batteries at 5:30 in the morning?
Thank God.
No,
I didn't. But we last spoke on Monday, I think. Was it Monday? I think so, because last weekend I drove home. So all I've done since then is work and do yoga. I started doing yoga again on Tuesday, but I'm not doing it at the yoga studio because I'm so out of shape that I can't get through the whole 90 minutes. I'm doing Bikram, and I can only get through 30 minutes right now. But 30 minutes when I first started on Tuesday, I could only do 5 minutes. So now I can do 38 minutes, which is I'm pleased with myself. Although it seems really ridiculous because I used to do like 90 minutes every day. But anyway, when you sit on the couch for a year and a half or 5 years or 10 years, you kind of lose the ability to do the yoga you once could do. So let that be a lesson to everybody, especially as you get older, because not only can you not do the yoga, but you hurt everywhere all the time. So yoga should be good for me.
Yoga will be amazing I'm always impressed by anybody that does yoga.
Yoga's not hard. It's just hard.
Oh my God, no. I've tried. I've tried twice. And I had one successful 30-minute session in a class setting. It's cool, right? I'm taking this English course, and the professor brought in a friend of hers who's a yoga instructor, and we were doing it because whatever we were reading, right? Okay. To get into Eastern spiritualism and all that. And I felt great for like 3 days afterwards, just amazing.
Totally.
But I never did it again because it was hard.
Well, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard mentally too. And that's the hardest part, I think, is just fighting with yourself to not fight with yourself over what can you do, what can't you do, how hard it is, and do I want to do this, and why am I not in bed right now, and all that kind of thing. So that's yoga for me anyway. I think it's that way for a lot of people, but maybe not the super fit ones. They probably just do it and have a great day.
They do it to show off.
But like hitting yourself on the head, it feels so good when it's over that it makes it all worthwhile.
Wow, that's a really tempting way it's a great way to tempt people into yoga. It's like hitting yourself in the head. Yourself on the head. It's great when it's over.
You feel so good when it's over. But it's true. And other than that, there was something else I was going to tell you about, but I've totally forgotten what it was. So
was it about dogs?
I guess that's it. No, my dog hasn't done anything interesting. Has yours?
No, happily. My dog has not done anything interesting.
He's not so bitey?
He's a little bitey, but much, much, much less. Our trainer mentioned the other day, she was like, yeah, I remember when you first called me and you were just done. You were it was over. And I was like, yeah, you're a miracle worker, man. So wow. Thank you, Michaela. You are awesome.
Awesome.
Yes. And I asked her if she would take Henry if I got back to being done with it. Not it as in Henry, but done it as in having a dog.
Just done.
Yeah. But little Henry, lucky for him, he gets to live here another week.
That's cool. I'm sure he's like 6 foot tall by now because he seems to be getting bigger and bigger every time I see a picture of him.
When I'm looking at him, I can see him growing.
It's freaking amazing.
Yeah, he's
I wonder how big he's going to get.
Nobody knows. It's a mystery. It's like Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Totally.
Yes, which takes us to cartoons, which takes us to, that wasn't on purpose, but there's a segue. Let's grab it.
All right. Yeah, today we are discussing a cartoon character, Pepe LePew, who's a Warner Brothers cartoon character who was introduced in 1945 and who appears in Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies episodes. Pepe LePew is a French skunk who aggressively, amorously pursues black cats and other black feline-type animals who somehow seem to have accidentally had a white stripe painted down their back. Generally speaking, his rapey attitude frightens and repels the targets of his affections. And we have, did you want to say anything else about Pepe LePew or the introduction of Pepe LePew to the world before I go on to the meat of the matter?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, so I always love to trip down the history path. So if this is a good time to discuss,
let's do it.
What the hell are cartoons, right?
What are cartoons?
What are cartoons? So
is I don't have anime?
Well, I'm not touching that one. I have friends who are into comic books, and the DC Marvel war is huge, and I don't care or understand it.
Right.
And then anime is just like nuclear.
Right.
Right.
Let's not go there. I agree.
Not even.
Don't know a thing about it. Best not to touch it.
It's super cool and really interesting. And I'm
so
totally
fascinated
lying.
by it. We've never looked at it.
But anime is cartoons or life. I don't know. But so cartoons sort of, it's always hard to pinpoint what was the first anything. And so I won't say that this was the first cartoon, but I will say that in 1906, a chalk drawing of humorous faces, and the cartoon's called humorous phases of funny faces. And it was just somebody was drawing things on a chalkboard, but then it was sort of like stop motion. So initially you see the person standing there drawing a face, and then eventually it's just kind of the face, and it looks like a black and white drawing cartoon. But every now and then they stop and they erase things, and you can tell like, oh, okay, I've been looking at a chalkboard. So cool. And then cartoons were popularized in movie theaters as features to silent films. And cartoons were easy because there wasn't any talking really involved. Whereas in silent films, you had to stop and put up text to keep the audience familiar with the storyline, etc. So cartoons were easy, something everybody could understand, relate to, follow, right? And then moving into, suddenly you had studios that were producing cartoons. And so the first real cartoon that we would say like, oh, that's a cartoon, would be Disney's 1928 Steamboat Willie. And that's a real cartoon, air quotes around that, because don't come and fight with me, historians. Pardon?
I said, oh, yeah, I remember Steamboat Willie. I mean, not that I was there at the time. I know what you're talking about. I thought you said
copy that. I was like, that's cool. Copy that. I'm going to, it's my new phrase. Let's see. Okay. So the reason why that was real is the music was built into the film itself, right? This is the advent of sound.
And when was that? The 30s?
1928.
28. Wow.
Yeah. So we moved from 1906, where cartoons start off as chalk drawing on a chalkboard, to Steamboat Willie 22 years later, where we've actually got sound in the picture, right? So you have a couple of studios that produce cartoons, that specialize in cartoons, and Warner Brothers is the parent of Pepe LePew, and let's see, they were a cartoon studio. And the studio was founded by 3 Disney veterans. One of them, Friz Freleng, is a name that I know I've seen a billion times on Warner Brothers cartoons. And let's see, Warner Brothers didn't really get happening until Tex Avery came and joined the team. Avery was young and irreverent, and he quickly recognized the talent of the staff artists such as Chuck Jones. Together, they brought a new kind of speed and snappiness to the Warner Brothers product, beginning with Gold Diggers in 1949. And let's see here. Sorry, everybody. It's just a bunch of dates, and I'm just going to say, like, it doesn't get any more interesting. So in 1945, Chuck Jones wrote a character called Pepe, and he based Pepe LePew, a French or a skunk, on a writer named Ted Pierce, who fancied himself as a ladies' man, but the joke was women just weren't really interested in him. So he apparently had lots of fascination with different women. It wasn't reciprocated, and he just seemed to never understand that. So, all right, cool. And that's the birth of Pepe LePew. I will hand the microphone back to you so you can continue us on this journey.
All right. So I was just going to talk about sort of moving through the decades. As everyone knows, people have started to become more and more conscious of things like racism and sexual harassment and that type of thing. So in 2017, Amber E. George, in her essay called Pride or Prejudice, Exploring Issues of Queerness, Speciesism, and Disability in Warner Brothers Looney Tunes, described Pepe Le Pew's actions towards Penelope Pussycat as sexual harassment, stalking, and abuse. And more recently, the New York Times columnist Charles M. Blow wrote in a March 3rd article about racism in children's media and products that Pepe Le Pew normalized rape culture. The article that he wrote was mainly about 6 Dr. Seuss books that would no longer be published because of racist and insensitive imagery. And I think, and you were saying Dave Chappelle did a skit about Pepe Le Pew?
Yeah. And so, but before we move forward, I just want to put a pin in that Dr. Seuss thing and say that those titles were removed by the Dr. Seuss, it's not the foundation, but the estate of Theodore.
Yes.
Truzel Seiss, thank you.
Geisel.
Yes. So that was a decision that the owner of the books, of the copyright of those books, made themselves, right? Not because there were protests in the street.
Right. And there were like lesser known books too. I don't think I've ever read any of them except the one about Mulberry Street. The other ones I don't remember having heard of at all.
No. Mulberry Street was the only one that I was familiar with. Let's see here. Yeah, so Dave Chappelle in 2000 in his stand-up routine called Killing Them Softly mentioned that Pepe Le Pew was a rapist. And he talks about sitting down to watch cartoons with his little nephew and being so excited to share part of his own youth with his nephew. Like, oh my gosh, these cartoons are so great. You're just going to love them. And he's watching it with adult eyes and is uncomfortable with the stalking aspect of it. That's my word, not his, right? I mean, he just goes straight into saying, Pepe Le Pew is a straight up rapist, oh my God, what was I watching? And then references how that sort of a seed planted at such an early age shapes young men's attitudes toward romantic pursuit, towards women, right? As they get older. So, all right, cool.
Yeah. So Charles Blow tweeted after he wrote his article that right-wing blogs are mad because I said Pepe Le Pew added to rape culture. Let's see. 1, he kisses a girl/stranger repeatedly without consent and against her will. 2, she struggles mightily to get away from him, but he won't release her. 3, he locks a door to prevent her from escaping. This helped teach boys that no didn't really mean no, that it was a part of the game, the starting line of a power struggle. It taught overcoming a woman's strenuous, even physical objections was normal, adorable, and funny. They didn't even give the woman the ability to speak. So what happened after that? Well, a few days after the article by Charles M. Blow, although I'm told by Deadline.com that it's not because of the article by Charles M. Blow, Deadline.com reported that Pepe Le Pew would not be appearing in Space Jam 2, which is an upcoming American live-action animated sports comedy film directed by Malcolm D. Lee. And I guess Space Jam 1 was a really big hit.
I think it was. I didn't see it, but it was one of those.
Did it have Michael Jordan in it?
I think it did.
Yeah. And
it's sad because my old landlord in LA was one of the animators who worked on that. So, and he had talked to me about that was the biggest picture he'd worked on, right? Sure. That and Tarzan, I think. And I should know more about it, and I don't remember because he would start talking about it and I would just tune it out because it was nerding out sports, over nerd stuff.
Right, yeah. Sorry. Sports movie animation, neither of which I'm interested in personally. So I wouldn't have listened either.
Well, the animation part was cool because, it was that live action thing. And I recall telling him that the live action cartoon mix had not been done well since Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And
that's the one I was trying to think of.
Yeah. And that was a one-trick pony. It was like, that was amazing when it came out and it was great. Yeah. They did it once. There's not a part 2. Right. Because the amazing thing is, oh my God, it's people with cartoon characters. Oh, wow. What a world, right? 1991.
What a world.
3, 7, whenever.
Yeah, I have no idea. It could have been yesterday. So according to Deadline.com, Pepe in Space Jam 2 was going to be in a hybrid live-action animation scene with actress, I think her name is pronounced Grace Santo, and Pepe was playing a bartender and starts hitting on Santo's character. He starts kissing her arm, which she pulls back, then slams him into a chair, pours her drink on him, and slaps him into LeBron James, who says to Pepe that Pepe shouldn't be grabbing people without their consent. And the story is, according to Deadline.com, that Grace Santo was disappointed that the scene had been cut because she had been a victim of sexual harassment and has spoken out against it. She recorded a song about it, and she has a nonprofit called Glam with Grace, which gives makeovers to victims of domestic violence. And she enjoyed shooting that Space Jam scene with Pepe because the skunk finally gets his comeuppance. So, besides the cancellation of Pepe LePew and 6 Dr. Seuss books last June, the Looney Tunes cartoons shown on HBO Max banned Elmer Fudd from having a gun in response to U.S. gun violence, and Disney Plus removed Peter Pan and Dumbo from its children's titles because of stereotypes and racist depictions. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the whole Me Too thing now, or...
Well, I mean, let's see. Are we sort of at the end of that storyline? Like, I am. Okay, all right. Yeah, because I know it starts to really branch out from Pepe Le Pew was removed from this movie into, cancer culture? Hi. Sorry, everybody. I've been awake for 100 hours now. Cancel culture. So that's kind of one avenue. The other avenue is the oversensitiveness. Holy moly. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. See, what's happening is I'm saying words, but I'm really thinking about the words before I say them. Usually I just open my mouth and things come out. But I want to make sure I don't F up here real bad. And you can tell that I'm paying attention because I'm not swearing. So yeah, and then, or it moves into the Me Too movement. And so I think let's take a quick look at the standard format of the Pepe Le Pew cartoon. And then we can talk about what is it that was really going on, and is this an issue of a different culture, our current culture, looking back at works from an earlier culture and not getting the joke because, or is the joke no longer really funny, right? And then move into the Me Too, perhaps, right? So I was really excited because it was like, we're going to do a cartoon of Pepe Le Pew, and great. I haven't seen that in a billion years. Mm-hmm. And Pepe Le Pew is not my favorite character. You know, I'm definitely more of a Bugs Bunny person. If I'll watch that, that's, all right. Pepe Le Pew was always kind of like the go get some cereal while Pepe's on the screen. Right. Because boring, who cares, right? But so I watched one, and so the one I saw was from 1947, and it had a name. It was called, Pepe is Odorable, right? And as I was watching it, I noticed that they really are making it's not anti-French, but I'm going to call it anti-French. So here's what I think is going on, right? So the standard format of a Pepe Le Pew cartoon is, at least for the one that I saw, it opens with Pepe putting on a robe that looks like a dress, right? Mm-hmm. And he's opening a bottle of champagne, and he puts a champagne in a champagne bucket, and he puts a white napkin over the champagne bottle because he's getting ready to open it. And then he does open it, right? What's really happening is that Pepe Le Pew has a giant penis right in front of him that he's got his hands all over, right? But if you're a kid, it's a champagne bottle. They're really clear to signal this is a champagne bottle. And you see the white napkin go on top of the bottle, right? But then he hugs it to his chest, and he's pulling off that cap, so to speak. So, I was like, that went right. I mean, what? How?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But okay. So very clearly that. But so he's in a dress, he's in a robe, and he walks behind some lace curtains and he starts addressing the audience. He's smoking a cigarette. So there were lots of like interesting things happening here. Like back in the days when smoking was so normal, even a cartoon character had to do it, right? But it was the feminization of this suave and sophisticated character, right? That he's wearing a dress, that he's concerned about his drink, right? That his drink is fancy, that he is behind lace curtains that you can kind of see through, right? He goes and he lays down on a couch, right? It's all very seductive and it's all very funny. And what's happening is you have American men, writers and the cartoonists, but I guess it's writers. Thank you, animators. That's the word I'm looking for. Can I have your brain for today?
No,
That'd
I need
be
it.
super helpful.
It doesn't work that well anyway.
You could just go do yoga for the day, and we'd both win because you just said right.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so American men are making fun of French men, and this is 1947, so it's post-World War II, right? Where the French sort of, in American culture, were seen as weak and ineffectual because we had to go over and save them from WW2 and all that sort of stuff, right? And the joke here is that why is the skunk French? Well, skunks smell, and the French have perfume, right? And the French think that the perfume smells great. And they think that all of their suave and sophisticated things are so important, but really they're not. And so American men, I'm thinking here, are a little unsure about this sex appeal that French guys have for American women. I mean, I'll say like the sort of the classic setup in 1940s, 1950s.
Sure.
Things. A French guy walks in the room and all the women are like, oh my God, and swoon, right?
Right.
So they're sort of, I don't know, as they would say in the UK, taking the piss out of the French here. So they think they're sexy, but they don't realize that women are really interested in them. And then at the end of, or at some point in every in Pepe LePew cartoons, the tables get turned and the female he's been pursuing suddenly starts pursuing him, right? Mm-hmm. Now, maybe he gets black paint poured on him. I think usually it's kind of what happens, right? And he runs away, which is signaling that French men may have a lot of... French men want to be desired, but they don't really want women, right?
I see.
So, hey, ladies, you might be swooning over these French guys, but they don't really want you. They just want your desire, right?
Right.
I have just unpacked everything that's going on there, and hooray for me, right?
Relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the apology that we're going to talk about was written by a guy named Jay Martell in the New Yorker on March 27th of this year, 2021. It's called Pepe LePew Apologizes, and I will not read the entire thing because you should really read it yourself, and it's a little bit long to be read on the podcast. But some of the things that he said in the voice of Pepe, and I will not do the French accent because I cannot do the French accent. I think Theo should do the French accent. See, there you go. You should do it.
No.
All right, neither of us are brave enough to try a fake French accent. But Pepe LePew says, my actions are not, how do you say, appropriate. Pepe is très sorry. And he apologizes to my family, my friends, my business associates, other skunks, other French animals, and of course the cats and dogs whom I confused with highly attractive lady skunks and relentlessly pursued through cities, forests, the Swiss Alps, and ocean liners. I now understand that my interactions may have been insensitive and too personal, and that some of my comments, given my position as a powerful public skunk, made others feel in ways that I never intended. What I took to be an innocent game of lover's chase was to them predation by an aggressive animal. I want you all to know that I'm getting help. I have hired many, many lawyers to help me through this difficult time. To show you how much I've changed, these lawyers have encouraged me to do some positive things that are pretty much the opposite of the bad things I have already done. So he goes on to say that he'll give money to animal rescue centers to help the dogs and cats he's traumatized. He'll buy eco-friendly revitalizing shampoo to remove the paint stripes from the animals' backs. And he'll also work with lawmakers through America to upgrade safety standards for painters. So did I miss anything important,
Ha
Theo?
ha ha ha. Ha.
What did I miss?
Oh no. I think you got all of it. That's, I don't even say that's worth getting. It's not that it's long. It's interesting. It's a very well written piece, and
it's amusing. I'd say it's mildly amusing,
and mildly amusing, and then problematic. But that's what makes it a well written piece, right? Aside from the fact that like he knows how to spell and type, because I'm sort of not sure exactly what his stance really is, right?
Yeah.
And so I was wondering, like, okay, Jay Martell, the guy who wrote the piece, right, in the New Yorker. The New Yorker's a big magazine. They've got money, right? So, of course, they probably paid Warner Brothers some money to use Pepe LePew, right? So not only is there a photo of Pepe LePew in the piece, but they're writing as Pepe LePew. And as a former Disney cast member who worked in marketing and who had a role, a small hand, a mouse finger, in copyright protection, I can tell you, we never would have okayed anybody writing as Mickey Mouse about anything. Right?
I believe it.
Never, ever, ever. There was a nursery school in Orlando next to Disney World, and they had painted Disney characters on the side of the building. You know, big ones for the kids. It's a fucking nursery school, and Disney made them paint over those characters. And Warner Brothers, interestingly, came in, and interesting to me, right? Yeah. Everybody else is probably like, oh God, shut the fuck up, click. Hired some artists to come in and paint Warner Brothers Looney Tunes at the nursery school. Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Smart. Free advertising for them, right?
Totally.
Close to Disney World. You're talking to families there. Hi, Warner Brothers. I saw what you did.
That's funny.
But yeah, so okay, somehow Jay Martell got permission to borrow Pepe's voice, right? And write this piece. And I was like, Jay Martell, who are you? Because I can't tell if you're saying, oh, the Me Too movement has gone so far that now cartoon characters have to apologize for inappropriate behavior. Or if you're saying, oh, hey, this was actually inappropriate, and I am going to point out in a humorous way just exactly how uncool this is. Yeah. Right? And so I dug into Jay Martell just a teeny tiny bit. I didn't get too far with him. He's very accomplished. He wrote for Key and Peele, so total respect. Yeah, right? And so already I'm like, okay, all right, I think I can kind of figure out which side of this argument you're going to fall on. If you were writing for Key and Peele, you're clearly going to be pro Me Too.
You think?
Yeah, well, right. But then, so here, I'm not going to say here's the twist. So then I found his Facebook page. And on his Facebook page, there was a link to his website. And so I went to his website because I was like, well, if I can't figure you out from Facebook, I'll figure you out from your website. And I went to his blog. And on November 30th, 2018, there is a blog piece. Let me know if any of this sounds familiar to you. Right? This is Jay Martell. His title for this blog piece is My Apology for Immediate Release, a title for which I apologize. I want to say, first of all, I'm sorry for letting everyone down. My family, my friends, my representation, and of course myself, the victims too. My behavior has been inexcusable. It'd be so easy to blame this on being insulated by my wealth and privilege, but I refuse to do that, and the assistant I'm dictating this to feels the same way. Let's see here. As a result, I'm getting help. I have hired 3 eminent psychologists, 6 social workers, a famous pharmacologist, and 42 lawyers to help me through. You have to understand I came of age in the 60s when my behavior wasn't a problem. The truth is I was never good at reading signals. This is the Pepe LePew apology.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So he wrote this in 2018, and actually, well, he published it in November of 2018 on his website. And so I was like, okay, so you recycled an old piece. That was interesting. This isn't an actual apology that he's making, right?
Yeah,
he is
he's being a little sarcastic.
Yeah, exactly. Here's Here's a standard apology for anybody to grab because we're hearing them left and right. So what was it in about November of 2018 that would cause somebody to say, somebody needs to apologize for sexually inappropriate? Louis C.K. had come back to this comedy stage. He appeared in August of 2018. And by October of 2018, comedians left and right were weighing in on, was he returning too soon? Was this appropriate? What the hell is going on here, right? And a lot of comedians that I respect, Wanda Sykes being one of them, was like, let the man do his thing. Let him work, right? And so I'm like, and I have to take a pause here. I really should take a pause here. Otherwise, I'll just talk nonstop. I've had a 16-ounce Red Bull. But I believe, and this is my opinion, that the Jay Martell blog is a defense of Louis C.K.
I see.
Right? And that this Pepe LePew is also he's taking his defense of Louis C.K. and what was his original blog piece from November 28? It's essentially a template for anybody to use, plug and play for an apology of being sexually inappropriate. So it works for Pepe LePew, and it'll work for the next person exactly that when this comes up again.
Interesting.
And so, having connected those dots, I'm going to say maybe negative Me Too. I'm not sure. Maybe he's saying it's gone too far now. And that hedging little voice I just used is I'm not really comfortable with what I'm saying, but it's a thought that I have.
I think maybe you're right.
I know I'm right. Now that you agree with me, I'm sure. I'd float it out for the Julia, that seems plausible. Plausible, it's fucking true.
I did not know what to think of the Pepe LePew apology, whether it was an attempt at an honest faux apology, which, looking back, it would kind of be ridiculous. Or it was an excuse to make fun of cancel culture and Me Too. And I think it might be more of that.
Or maybe it's doing both things.
Well, it could be. Yeah, it could be.
I'm going to say so all of these sort of questions that were brewing, right, as I was thinking about, all right, Pepe LePew, the apology, what does this mean? What could we do with this? So I got to watch some Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Who I have never seen before.
No, I
if you
either.
can believe that. Oh, okay. Let me tell you right now. You go watch Dave Chappelle. He is brilliant. He is an absolute fucking genius. The sparks just fly off of him while he's performing, right?
Wow.
But, I haven't seen anything as good I'm not quite sure. The feelings.
Yeah.
Since Whoopi Goldberg did her thing on HBO, right? And I can watch that Whoopi Goldberg today. I can watch that Whoopi Goldberg episode or show today. I can watch that Whoopi Goldberg all day long. I can watch that episode. Jesus God, what words do I want?
Special.
Can we do this in French? Please. And it's still very stirring. And so Chappelle in one of the shows, because I watched 1.5 that I saw, had a defense for Louis C.K.
Okay.
Right? And his defense was, and I think this gets us to the heart of the Me Too movement question, right? And this line that I think Jay Martell is...
because I've already lost interest in Chappelle.
Oh, okay. So what he basically, these aren't my words, these are his, right? He's like, listen, Chappelle was masturbating in his own hotel room.
Louis C.K.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Everybody, you just back that one
Dave
out.
Chappelle.
It was not Dave Chappelle. It's Dave Chappelle talking about Louis C.K.
Yes.
And really, it's just 16 ounces of glucose talking to you right now because it's sugar. And so basically, Chappelle's like, listen, he was just masturbating in his hotel room. He let people know that that's what he was going to do. And maybe some people were like, is this a bit? Is it a joke that he's finished? Is it still a joke? Right. And he's like, and they could have walked out at any point. So, that's what he implied. He doesn't say that, right? Dave Chappelle is genius because he is able to use nuance in ways that are masterful, right? I am not shocked that he is as good as he is because he's that good. What did I just say? So he's great. But so is this defense of Louis C.K., not telling women, you have to watch me, or locking the door now, I haven't read a lot of the victims' complaints, their legal complaints, so I actually don't know what happened to those rooms.
I think it was mostly that he had some power over them because he was so famous.
Right, exactly.
And they were not. He had some control possibly over their careers.
Right, and I don't know that he ever did it with like Sarah Silverman. Right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I think she said he's never done that in front of her, right?
Yeah,
but Sarah Silverman, hi. So anyway, that defense within, I mean, it's sort of victim blaming in a way when Chappelle says when he implies the women were free to walk out. Again, nuance. Yeah. And so that does kind of get to that question of, has the Me Too movement gone too far? And I don't know what too far is, because this isn't my baseball game.
Right.
I'm not straight.
But you as a man have some influence over other men, so you should have an interest in what other men do regarding women, regardless of whether you're gay or straight or either way. So
I'd even flip that, and I would say that I have predominantly female friends, and I care about what happens to them, regardless of who does it, right? And it's not like I'm blind to this stuff. It's just I don't want to say I don't have a dog in that fight, because we're not talking about sexual assault, which is very clear, and it gets into that. I guess this is the Me Too movement trying to better define what is assault.
Well, I mean, assault, the definition of assault, I'm sure, is very clear if you looked it up. But I mean, assault and battery are two different things. So assault is what Louis C.K. did. That's assault. Battery would be if he put his hands on someone.
Okay. All right. And so, yeah, I mean, you say it, and suddenly it's so clear.
That's because I'm right.
Well, I knew you'd be the perfect person to have this conversation with. I've talked to other friends.
Well, I'm sure other people will have other opinions. As they say on one of my favorite podcasts, other opinions are available. So
they are, but that doesn't mean that they are right.
They're right. That's true. Yeah. So I think I disagree with Dave Chappelle, and I disagree with Louis C.K., and I disagree now with Jay Martell, if that's his name. I've forgotten it already.
It is.
If he really is making fun of the cancel culture / Me Too movement. So now I have to rethink my rating of this apology. So if we look back on the characteristics of a good apology, the first one is to say you're sorry, right? So he did say he was sorry. He said it in English and in French. So we're looking at Pepe LePew here, not Jay Martell.
Right. And so that's 2 points for being bilingual right there. So,
and then Pepe LePew would need to own the mistake. So did he say what he had done wrong? Yes, he did. So he gets another point for that. Did he describe what happened? He certainly did. So he shows that he understands what happened and why it was hurtful to the victims. Did he have a plan? Did he say how he was going to fix the situation? Well, he was going to use all his lawyers to give money to animal rescue centers and clean the white stripes off of the backs of the
which is atoning
animals.
And doing something.
So, so that counts. He admitted he was wrong, and he did ask for forgiveness. Now, was he sincere? That's where possibly it all falls down. Because I think that sincerity is the most critical aspect of an apology. And if what you're saying about the writer is true, then he would not be writing this apology as a sincere apology.
One could build that argument, right? We would have to get into the writer's heart.
In fact,
to know.
Did.
Yeah. True.
So what do you think? Like, what would you give this apology, this faux apology?
Okay,
pretending it's a real apology.
So this is tough because I've been sitting with this this Louis C.K. connection for a while, right? Which has skewed when I first read it, I was like, okay, it's funny, it's well written, but I'm not sure if what is the actual comment, or what are we saying? It's not clear, right? Now, I sound like a babbling idiot right now, so no surprise that it wasn't clear to me. So 10 points for being well written, 10 points for being clever, like having a cartoon character apologize and Pepe LePew. Okay, cool, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think it's sincere. I think it's meant to be sarcastic, and I think it's meant to be a commentary on the Me Too movement, and that, and this is me projecting, but I'm going to say, a defense of Louis C.K. So then it starts slipping, right?
Right.
So 10 for creativity, I'll split it, and maybe a 3 on the apology level. Although, if it's lacking sincerity, it should just automatically be a 0.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that, like you, I think it gets 10 style points and 0 sincerity points.
So that's a 5.
No, it means it's a 0.
Oh, okay.
I think you multiply, not add.
Dang, you're smart.
I'm totally smart. I remember the basics of math.
I do not.
So I did not hate that I read that Pepe Le Pew apology, and I do not regret the time I spent out of my life, my very busy and important life, reading that apology. I don't think that overall it was a good apology.
No, it didn't do the work.
Yeah, essential work.
It hasn't made anything better, right? If anything, although, if the point is now, so this isn't the apology, but just sort of the point of the piece, if it's to get people into a dialogue about Me Too and where's the line and blah, 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 then, hey, it's done some work there. Here we are.
I think that dialogue already existed.
Well, it did. But,
in my opinion,
not in the shape and form of a lovable, sexy, suave French skunk. So.
Okay, I'll give you that. So, who's sorry now, Theo?
Oh wow, great question. I don't have a cartoon apology.
I can tell you who's sorry now, and it's not a cartoon apology, but it's a sexual harassment apology.
Ooh.
And don't worry, I'm not apologizing for sexually harassing somebody, because I don't think I ever have. I hope I never have. To my memory, I never have. But as probably any woman can say, I have been harassed and even stalked. And there was a guy that I worked with when I worked at a video/CD store, who decided that he had a crush on me. Eventually, we became friends, and then we were friends for a while. And then he decided that he had a crush on me, and he told me, and he asked me out, and I was like, no, thanks, but not really. And he kept pushing me, and eventually he said, "You'll be sorry." And he came to my apartment and pounded on my door, and I was pretty terrified by that point, because he had said, "You'll be sorry." And there was no way I was letting him into my house. So I called the police, who came out and basically just made him leave. And I don't think they did anything other than that. But he's sorry. He should be very sorry now. He should apologize to me for doing that, and he can go screw himself.
Wow. I vaguely remember this. Vaguely. But which is terrible, because, oh my God, you would think that somebody pounding on your door would be a memory that I would have for the rest of my life. But
well, things like that happen a lot to women, so it's not that memorable.
Well, things like that do happen a lot. Did you have to work with the guy again?
No, we weren't working together at that point, thank goodness.
Oh, okay, all right.
But that was certainly the end of our friendship, if it wasn't already over, which I think it was.
Yeah. Oh man,
it was. He was a right winger. I think he's probably now a Trumper. So no way was I going to go out with somebody like that.
I mean, whatever he is, I'm sure it's not going to be good.
No,
not anything that I would have loved.
around now at all, but he's not here. He lives in another state, thank goodness. So have you thought of anything to be sorry for?
No, because I'm picturing this guy banging on your door and how scary that would have been, especially with, I mean, who asks somebody out and then says, you'll be sorry you didn't go out with me?
Right.
I mean,
who says that? Why would you say, yeah, it's like Pepe LePew, I guess. Some people are just idiots.
Well, I mean, you know, that, I was just about to defend Pepe LePew and be like, oh, what Pepe did wasn't that bad. He wasn't banging on a kitten's door. He was just,
he locked a woman up. Pepe
trying
LePew
to kiss her.
At least I didn't get locked up.
Okay, let's see. I should, of course, I'm focused on like, oh, do I have a cartoon apology? Because I've never, as far as I know, been sexually inappropriate with somebody who didn't enjoy it. Oh,
stop.
Terrible. Theo, shame on you. You're going to go straight to hell for that. Let's see here. So, yes, of course. Oh, well, I am sorry for the man this morning behind the counter of the 7-Eleven when I shouted the word battery at him like 5 times in a row, very slowly.
If he didn't get it the first time, he wasn't going to get it the 18th.
And why the fuck I didn't pull my phone out and just show him a picture of a battery, like what exactly I was looking for, and just be like, this? Right? But I didn't. And I did apologize to him when I was there several times. And then the minute I got my battery, I changed into super nice, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Oh, thank you. You have a wonderful day. Thank you.
At least you weren't a jerk the whole time.
Right. I mean, oh God, I'm so sorry to that guy. And, I'd go back and give him something like, I baked some bread for you or whatever. But
oh, don't. That's too much.
Oh, well, yeah. He'd be like, I don't want your bread. You'd probably put a battery in it.
I don't even remember you.
Hopefully that'll be my, if there's a God, and there's not, he, she, they will erase me from that guy's mind.
Yes. All right, cool.
Well, hey, before we go, though, because I heard that intake of, goodbye, everybody. But I want to say, hey, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us this long, this far into the episode, and for being a listener. There's a lot of podcasts I listen to, and I always think of them as my podcast. And it's small and it's special and it's mine. And I'm the only person who listens to it. And when I hear other people talking about my podcast, 1, I'm surprised they know about it. And then 2, I get mad. Which is stupid.
Are you talking about other podcasts that you think of as your podcast?
Yeah, other podcasts,
okay.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I remember when you were the person who introduced me to podcasts, right?
Really?
You were like, hey, have you ever heard a podcast? And I was like, no, I think I've heard of them, but no, not really. And you were like, oh, well, you should listen to, it was Night Vale, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like,
of course. I'm totally cool that way.
Cool, fine, I will. If Juliet likes it, I'm going to give it a go. And and I really enjoyed it. And it was like, and then we were just painting a house, and it was inside painting.
I still have that shirt for you of Night Vale. That's the old woman who secretly lives in your home.
That's scary to me. The old woman who secretly lives in your home is definitely it will keep me up at night if I think about it. But yeah, and so I was listening, we listened to that, and I was like, oh, I like it. And then I tripped over My Favorite Murder. Early days, everybody. I was an early adapter. And that was my show. And they were mine, right?
Yeah.
And then they got popular, and then I got mad. And the same thing happens with bands. Like, I like a band, and then it gets popular, and they don't like it.
Sure.
And so we just want to say thank you guys so much. We would love to hear from you. We see you, Russia. We see you, Germany. We see you, America, off the charts. Yeah. Thank you. We see you, iHeart listeners.
I don't know who's in DC listening to us, but hey.
Like I said, I think it's AOC or Dr. Jill, but
probably
one or the
definitely
other.
AOC.
I mean, AOC. We did a show about her. Of course she listened. She was hooked. So we really, really, really appreciate it. It means so much to us when a random person subscribes to the show. And,
I don't give a shit.
Well,
I'm kidding.
Oh, I do.
I'm very happy. We have so many listeners. I didn't expect, I mean, not so many, but I didn't expect we'd have as many as we do. And I'm very thrilled. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, honestly, it's such a treat when it's like, oh, new subscribers. And old subscribers, thank you also. And we just can't say...
We've been doing this for over 6 months.
And I want to come up with a term for listeners other than listeners. And so the best I could do is like, you're listening to a pod, you're our pod, you're in our pod. So that makes you a dolphin because dolphins swim in pods, but it's terrible. Oppo head was another one, but that's also terrible. Are you an Oppo head? I'm such an Oppo head.
The listeners should come up with a name for themselves.
Sorry, Meisters.
Yeah, definitely the listeners should come up with a name for themselves.
How dare you? I don't know when I've been insulted.
And I'd also like to thank Red Bull for being our sponsor this episode.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. Thank you for keeping me propped up at a delta of caffeine and sugar. Yeah, and now I'm going to spend the rest of the day on the couch.
Good for you.
Good for me.
Perfect plan. Me too. All right. So thank you, Theo. Appreciate it.
Thank you, not Theo. I also appreciate it.
And thank you, listeners. We especially appreciate you. And we'll be back next week with who knows what. Yay.
Double yay.
Thank you for listening to Apologies Accepted, the podcast.
You can find links to the articles and the sources in the show notes.
To submit an apology or find out more, visit us at apologiesaccepted.net, where you can also find our merchandise.
We're on Twitter at Apologies Accepted.
And on Instagram at apologies.accepted.
You can support our important work at Patreon.com/Apologies Accepted.
And fuck Facebook.
Bye.
Bye.